Sumo. Hi everyone, I'm Crow77. Today we're going to take a look at a Paifu. That is a review of someone's game to, look at mistakes and that sort of thing. Now, most of these games come from my viewers, so if you're interested in getting in on the action, take a look in the description. We have a Discord server where you can just submit games that you want to. Now, there's also a Patreon if you don't want to wait in the queue and want to get right to the top of the list. So, without any further ado, remember to like and subscribe, and let's take a look at the game. Alright, let's take a look at this Paifu. So we have another ARML game, so no red 5s or anything like that. Not quite your standard ladder. So try to maximize placement in a little bit different way. Basically, they feel like they played very badly, for lack of better terms. Mostly wants to focus on push and full judgment, especially against open hands. Okay. So definitely need to pay attention to the open hands this game. Let's see what we've got here. Okay. So an important thing in when you're playing without red 5s is being able to integrate value, like this 6 here. Any sort of door like that you want to hold on to anytime you can. Perfect. Okay, I love it.
Boom.
This is kind of an odd situation because with one east out, it's tempting to drop them. And if there's much danger going on, we probably will here. It's fine.
Come.
Interesting. So this makes me want to drop the east even more, just to kind of open things up a little bit. But problem is at that point, there's only 1 8 left, and I don't think anyone's going to drop the Dora for us.
Boom.
Okay, so that's helpful. So now we drop 8-pin, 8-pin. Perfect.
Riichi.
And here's where it gets difficult. Okay. So 8-pin's an easy drop at least. And that's 10 pi. Ugh, jeez. This always feels so bad. So your options here are to drop the 3-mon and have a guaranteed Hanemon, or drop the 4-mon and have an open weight on a Mangan. Oh, Lord, this one's a hard one. So here we're definitely pushing, right? Like, this is just too valuable of a hand not to push, I think. The question is how. I think I would drop the 4-mon here. It feels a little more risky, but I think the more consistent points is the way to go. This one's real close, though. I'm not entirely sure. So we see the 3 come out here instead.
Chi.
Let's see if we get rewarded or punished for that. That 7's fine. Okay, so that would have been the sumo. So we might be punished.
Sumo.
Okay, so I probably would have dealt in here, which wouldn't have been the end of the world by any means. Would have been 2,600 points. Not ideal, but not much more than we ended up paying there. That's kind of the one weird thing about, pushing as the dealer and everything. Because on a sumo, they get the extra Han from being able to sumo to begin with. And so with Akanashi games like this, where it's less likely that they even hit a Mangan, it's usually a little bit less risky to deal in, if that makes sense, because the point values are a lot closer because they lose the sumo value, as opposed to if you hit a Mangan or something like that, the sumo becomes less valuable. So this one's a little bit of an odd one here. I probably would hold on to this a little bit longer. So with hands like this and Akanashi, again, you're always trying to get value with these hands, right? I would probably drop the 1-2 pin and hold on to these for the chance of the flush. Like, it's not super likely, but the 1-2 pin is also killing value with Tanyao. So I'd probably hedge right now, kill those, and see if we can draw a pair of the winds or something. Well, definitely west before north.
봄,
Definitely. Oh wait, west is Dora. I'm dumb. But yeah, no, I'd probably still be holding on to all these, and this 5 pawn kind of solidifies the plan too. So it definitely would have been a much better situation if we discarded the 1-2. Now we could drop the 4-6. Yeah, we're just losing a lot of value here, unfortunately. Yep, that would have been a great draw for the flush. Sad to see it go, but it is what it is. Okay.
지,
So we're going... Oh, now this west gets risky. Okay. 3 outs. It's a Suji trap. We take the Riichi here.
리치, 스모,
Oh, nice. Okay. I mean, I guess we get rewarded like that. Yeah, interesting there. But, like I said, Riichi those hands. No complaints there, obviously. Yeah, okay. I thought there might have been something there, but I'm not seeing it. Now here, I think that's a slight mistake. I'd probably drop the 1 mon first. Because I don't really see a path where this ends up as an 8-sil. Because we're going to want to hold on to this Dora. We're going to want a lot of things. So by dropping this 1, we're actually moving towards a 2-3-4 Sanshoku a little bit. And we're hedging a bit more for what this shape ends up being. Which, of course, it could still turn into a 3-4-5 Sanshoku. But discarding the 1 over the 2 here doesn't really change that. See, now the awkward thing is if we draw a Tenpai here, we're valueless on a Penchon. So here I'm probably dropping the 9-8. Good. Probably 9 first, because the pair of 8s is better. Here we're getting punished for not going for the Tanyao earlier. Okay. So a little bit of a late drop of the Dora, but no one looks particularly dangerous here. So I think we're okay. And here we see the Riichi. Okay, so let's evaluate this here. So we can drop the 3-pin completely safely. The 4-pin doesn't even look that bad. It's not great, but not the end of the world. So we could drop 3-3-4 and keep the pair of 5s and hope to integrate the 6 if we wanted to push. I think either way our first drop is the 3 though. Like, it's a dealer Riichi, we just don't want to be that risky against it just yet. Okay, and that actually helps a bit. Yep, so 5 first here.
Wrong.
And yeah, okay. So no more evaluation needed. And it is Riichi Dora 2. That's a lucky era. Okay. Okay. Yep, this is fine.
봄,
Okay. So always important to evaluate these early pawns, especially in Akanashi. Like, are they trying to shut down the game? What are they trying to do with this? So in this sort of situation, one concern I would have is going for the flush. So in this case, they're probably not doing it, even though the Dora suit is the most common suit to go for a flush with. Discarding the 5 right after the pawn doesn't really seem to indicate that, so I'm not too worried about this hand over here. We do have to watch out for a Dora bomb still, though. It is concerning that they've discarded so many central tiles this quickly. At at some point we're going to want to get rid of this 6-8 if we can. And it's probably right here.
7、
Okay. See, now this 8 gets kind of weird. Like, it's not likely to deal into anything. So probably just cut it here.
4、
Okay. Again, not much to do there. Like we play the line that you took, whether you intended to or not. Let me take another look at it here. It played pretty safely against his hand on your left, right? Because even as far back as like here, we're discarding the 6 pin. That's completely safe against them.
7、
The 8 pin comes out. We discard the 8 pin, so it's still Genbutsu against the player to our right. And then that's where the deal-in happens. So, not sure if that was your intention or not, but definitely a good way to go about it, especially when you're worried about, you know, this player just discarded multiple central tiles in a row. They're probably going to be Tenpai at that point. So that's one important thing to keep an eye out for with open hands, especially. Lots of Sumogiri of those central, very usable tiles is a pretty big indicator.
4、
Okay. And here this hand is looking like it wants to be a Tanyao. Never mind. It wants to be its own hand. Okay. Yeah, so here value building is difficult, right? So I'd agree with discarding the pinch on here, at least getting some kind of pinfu going. Apparently your hand does not agree with discarding it. Yeah, it's fine.
4、
Okay, so we have a pawn come out here. So again, since we're focusing on these open hands, what are they going after? So they just pawned a 5 from a 3-5-5 shape. So pawning a bad shape, pretty standard here. And the door is the 4-so, and we don't see anything around that door discarded at this point. So here on this specific discard, we don't have to make too much of a decision. We're just discarding the 8 pin probably. But it is something we're gonna have to watch out for. Now that's strange. So setting aside some con theory and all that, to see a player that is 6th Dan on Tenho with a 2,000 point rating open con in this kind of situation is extremely strange. So they're pushing something big or they're fishing for value. It's one or the other. Now with that Dora indicator, we know they don't have any of those Dora, or at least very few of those Dora. Yeah, this is a strange play here. I'm gonna have to go back and look at that after this hand. Okay, now the 6 pin comes out. So we saw an 8 discarded and now a 6 discarded. So if the 8 came out from 5-6-6, they'd be waiting on 4-7 pin, which is possible still. Okay, it is not. I don't think it's really likely they're waiting on the 5, but it is still possible. How concerned are we about this hand, though? That's the real question. Seeing none of the 4-so is the biggest concern here. Like, that is such an aggressive con. I'm probably dropping the 3-mon here just because our hand doesn't lose too much from it. Like, yeah, we have 4 pairs, but I never won Chitoi anyway. So if we're not doing that, it's probably the 1-so first if you want to keep the Chitoi chances alive. But I think you have to pick right now, one way or the other. So you can play a little bit more safely going into the final row here. He's carrying the 4 instead. Not exactly safe, but it does pass. And now we're discarding the 3. What changed between the last discard and this discard? Or are you just reading the 4 is not that dangerous? See, like, the problem is, in this kind of situation, right here, we can see, you know, there's 4 3s, right? See 3 of the 5s, So it's one chance. But the problem is it's not. So, well, I mean, it is. But there's no fours. All the fours are somewhere. That means it's pretty likely that at this point, with 21 tiles left in the wall, 35 if you count the dead wall, then chances are there's some fours somewhere. So they're probably in someone's hand as a pair or a triplet or something. So the fact this doesn't get pawned is actually kind of surprising to me. But then we come to here, and now we're discarding safely against the player to our right. Now we're discarding this 3. Yeah, it's a little bit incongruous from what I see. Either that or the evaluation of the danger of the 4 was a little bit off. Yeah, here we're just folding, or at least half folding. Still can't discard this 5, though. That's the awkward part. So if we just discarded the 3, we can probably assume the 6 is safe as well. But choosing the 7 instead. So the 7 has kind of the same problem that the 4-mon did. Where, I don't know, I guess we see one of them. So there's only one left. Yeah, okay.
Wrong.
Oh, jeez. So, as I was starting to say, kind of the same problem, right? So there's 1 6. It's a little bit better because we have 1 7 discarded. So we're looking at either a tunky or an open weight here. And it's an open weight. Yeah, so... yeah, I think this is just a situation of not quite reading where the danger is. So we established that they're not waiting on the 3. If they're waiting for a Tanyao hand, that means the 6 is going to be pretty safe here. Because they'd have to be waiting specifically on what, 5, 7? Pretty much. So they'd have to have exactly the last 5-mon in their hand. Versus with the 7 discard, it could still be a Tunky or something else. The 6 could technically be a Tunky, but I don't see it, really. I don't know. It's a difficult hand to read for sure. So I'm not that upset about dealing into 3,900 here. But it is kind of an odd one. So speaking of odd ones, what the hell was going on with their hand? Gotta go back and take a look at this real quick. So, how do we do this? There we go.
Pawn.
Okay, so we understand this pawn, right? Because it's looking like it could be Toy Toy. Might as well. It's the worst shape in our hand. We get rid of it. Great. Now we're here. We have 2 Dora. I don't understand this con at all. Yeah, I think it's just wrong, honestly. I'm trying to find some way to justify it, and I can't. It's possible that this player comes from Chinese Mahjong or something, where there's not as much of a downsider or something. Which I'm probably insulting the hell out of this player right now, and I have no idea who it is, but, it is what it is. Insult is not the intention. I'm just trying to understand exactly where this came from. And I don't see it, so let's move on. It's not why we're here anyway.
Wrong.
Oops, forgot to hide hands. Okay. I did not look at hands. If you did, you're a cheater. Alright, so holding on to the 1-mon as the Dora, of course. Okay, so we have reasonable shapes here. Unfortunately, we're not really going to be able to integrate the Dora too well. I still want to push for it. I want to discard the 8-9 here. So I think this is a little bit premature. The 8-9 doesn't really add much. If you think about it, if we cut the 8-9, we're losing acceptance of the 7. If we cut the 1, we're losing the acceptance of the 1. So while there's 1 more 7 than 1s, the upside for drawing another 1 is so much higher. So I'm probably holding on to this 1 for a little bit and cutting the 8-9 here.
Home.
Caught it. so always hold on to your Dora. Not always, but definitely hold on to your Dora in Akanashi because it is marginally more valuable than it is in Akari. Just because there's fewer Dora, it's harder to come by. You really want to try to use them when you get them.
Boom.
So we're seeing it kind of a lot right now where we see like a one-shot or a kabe or something and discarding the tile on the other side of it. Again, one cut, but this is concerning to me. Like, I'm worried this 9 is gonna go somewhere. Like, at this point, we definitely need to watch this player on our left. So here I'm going to be cutting the white dragon for sure. Cut 5. So I don't understand that. If we cut the white dragon, we can still end up with Paifu. And in some cases, we end up with Sanchoku as well. So I think cutting off the 4-5 just gives up too much value. The white dragon's safer. I don't like the 5 discard here. There's the Sanchoku chance.
Riichi.
And here's where we hate life anyway. So this 9 is about as good as it gets, right? Like, there's 2 of them on the board already. They could hell weight it, but yeah. So that's fine. Ugh. So the player on our left is the one we're concerned about, right? So they could easily be waiting on 1 Formon. I think it's somewhat likely they're waiting on 1 Formon. We see 2 3s, so they could have easily discarded something from 3-3-2. It's Sumogiri, obviously, but if you discard a 5, it could have been from the shift to 2-3.
Riichi.
So, doesn't deal in. We're waiting on the 6-pin. What I'm trying to figure out is if it's even worth the risk here. I mean, I don't hate it. It's a little bit more aggressive than I feel might be proper, but that could just be like my Tenho instincts kicking over because I'm watching on a Tenho client right now. So it's hard to say for sure. I don't hate it though.
Sumo.
I hate that, but not much we could do about that. 300, 500. Okay. All right. And what is this hand? Okay.
Boom.
Yeah, the pawn is likely fine here. I don't want to go all in and just call everything if I can help it at this position. Until we get some more established shapes. Unfortunately, those shapes are not coming. Yeah, that's fine.
Riichi.
It's a weird roundman to fix, so it took me a second. Yeah, so 9-mon first here. Yep.
Riichi.
See, this is why you don't con, right? Just conning more Dora is a bad idea. Because we're probably trying to fold here. Yeah, I agree with this fold. I don't think there's much else to do here.
Riichi. Long.
Not our problem. Someone else deals in. We move on. And we're in South 3 already. So we're looking at positions. We are in a very narrow lead here. Would love to get some other kind of points on the board. But we have to be careful too, because stealing into something from Oya would be an absolute nightmare. Okay, so now we're getting to the interesting bit. Okay, so pawn into 2-pin, pawn from 998 into 8-pin. So if anything, they're probably after more terminal tiles. And that's a very rough read, so I'm probably discarding the 5 so here. I like keeping the 8 again just for Dora integration. I'm glad I'm 2 for 2 on these called shots on the Dora draws. But yeah, this is a little more suspect. So my concern right now is dealer just called twice, basically in the first row. Discarding Dora feels very dangerous here. See, I would have loved to hold on to this 8 to be able to push in this penchant into the hand. Yeah, hard to say for sure. I don't like the Dora discard, but I'm not sure what I would have done here. Okay, marginally safer against the dealer. The 8 discard. Let me see a 6. So people think that you've seen 6, you've seen 5, 8. 7's pretty safe at this point. Yeah. I didn't expect to see the 4-mon discard right there. I expected to see the 8-mon come out. Because the 4 is still pretty useful to us if we want to try pushing this hand. But the 8 is not. So personally I'm probably dropping the 8 here and looking for Tadashi Sumogiri on Toyman's side to see if they change their weight and could be waiting on the 4 again eventually. As opposed to discarding it right now when we see it. Yeah, so like right here, I think I'm still dropping the 4-mon. No one's changed their hand since then. It's a great time to get rid of it. The 7s could still be our pair easily, discarding the 8. So I prefer discarding this 4 here. Getting rid of it now before it gets more dangerous. Okay, basically hard folding here. What are we hard folding to exactly? So, Toyman does not have a pair of Dora, I don't think. Because they didn't pawn the Dora, and they haven't really made many changes to their hand since we discarded the Dora. They also didn't pawn it when player to our left discarded it. So the only person who could have the Dora left are to our right. So in that kind of position, no one's hand is really worth much here, as far as I can tell. So I don't like folding here. I think you're higher EV to push a bit harder.
Don't.
Yeah, sure enough, not worth much, as I was saying.
Don't.
Yeah. So it wouldn't have changed too much, obviously, with the hand ending so quickly after that decision. But always worth evaluating. Like, you don't necessarily need to figure out if something you are going to discard is going to deal in or not. It's kind of whether or not you care if it deals in. So like that kind of position right there, the hand value isn't high. It's probably worth it to push a little more aggressively. That is one really nice thing that changes with Akanashi like this, is that it is a lot easier to kind of guess your opponent's hand value. With the red 5s everywhere, it can inflate hand value out of nowhere. Like something that looks like it's just a Tanyao suddenly becomes a Mangun. But in Akanashi, that is much harder, especially if you're tracking all the Dora. Wait. Why do we discard the 4 again? Sorry, I was casually going through this. No, so this was just not good. So the correct play here is discard the 9 cell. We lock in our 7s as the pair. The 2 is around for extra value, but is Paifu Tanyao at that point. Yeah, I was just staring at the monitor instead of actually looking, I guess. So yeah, definitely a mistake here, just for hand building. Always keep an eye out for that. We can keep the 2 around for extra value if we draw the 3. But yeah, that 9 doesn't do anything for us, and we would have had a Mangan hand here. Paifu Tanyao, Ipeiko, waiting on 3-6. Even if we dom it for 3,900 points, which honestly I might at this point. Still pretty good.
Riichi.
Oh, and we would have epots summoned, or not epots. We wouldn't have discarded the 3, it would have changed all the discards, whatever. So instead of that, so going back to this. So from here, I'm just not sure why you locked the pair here. Why you locked that pair, that is. Because there's ramen shapes attached to this. But this is just a kanchan. It's a bad kanchan. So, yeah, definitely an efficiency thing to watch out for.
Riichi.
Jeez. And now there's multiple chase reaches, and we are in trouble. Oh, no, sorry. I guess my sound was just a little thing. So, yeah. So the reach we declared was a Tanyao hand. Just Riichi Tanyao. We've reached ourselves out of first place in order to do it. And now we're dealing into a double run. Like, we can't necessarily say for sure, back right here, that the player on our right's really worth too much. We have to watch out for Honi too. But in this kind of position, I'm not too worried about them being far enough ahead to even be able to fight it. But what we do have to worry about is, you know, it's a bad weight. Do we really want to be pushing this hard? For basically, instead of 1,600 points, it would be 2,900 points, which doesn't make a huge difference. So I think I prefer Dama here when it comes down to it, just because the risk of dealing in and everything is so high to pull yourself down significantly in the placement with the scores this close.
Riichi.
Oh, jeez. So how did their hand look at that point? Yeah, so they just had a very lucky one. Not too much to read there.
Riichi.
And then over here, yeah. So there's not too much with reading the value, so much as reading the general game state in this position, where you would have been better off with the Dama, I think, just because there's not that much value in the Riichi here for you. Hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, hit me up and we can talk about it a little bit more.
Riichi.
Okay. So now we are still in South 3, and we are in last place, unfortunately, because that is a massive hit. For some reason I thought that Double Roan wasn't scored as Double Roan in ARML, but probably misremembering.
Pom.
Okay, so East gets an early pawn. Okay, we've got 4 pairs here. We're Tanyao, 5 pairs. I guess at 5 pairs you're allowed to go for Tanyao. I do like the 6, and I'm actually following up with the 7 here. So I like the 7 better, because if someone sees 6-7, they don't think you're waiting on an 8. So if you make it to the Chitoi Tenpai, it's a pretty good one. Well, there's 2 Ankus discarded. Potential Rianpeiko? Might be overcommitting to the round Peigo. Okay, I'm not paying attention to the other discards enough. So dealer has discarded multiple central tiles, including one tile near a Dora, so they could have a Dora pair. So alarm bells should be going off against the dealer here. With that 3 being the last discarded tile. So here, because of that, I'm not that worried about Rampego. Well, at the same time, now we do need to catch back up. Ugh, this got so much harder. So... yeah, fine. Chase the Rampego.
Riichi.
But we are going to Riichi here instead. Riichi discarding what? The Forso? Like, the 2-pin looks so much safer to discard, and the Forso is Nakasuji trapped for us. So I think I'm discarding the 2-pin. Yeah. I like that.
Gong.
Okay, and someone does fall for the Nakasuji trap, luckily for us. So now we are a Suma Mangan away from overtaking back into second. And here we have a very quick hand, but not much value. That doesn't help. So here I want to find a way to upgrade value. But if we can't, that's a way to upgrade value right there. So here, drop the 1-so. So if you drop the 1-so, hold on to the 4, you can Dora Tonki. Like, that's no problem. But you just need to find some way to integrate that value. Especially with your hand getting a lot harder to complete. You can see that there's 2 6s and a 9 so far for the 7-8. So they're definitely becoming a lot more scarce very quickly. Okay. Unfortunately, we're in the position where it's just pinfill, right? Like, there's nothing else here.
Pom.
And if I remember correctly, ARML rewards you for being above 30,000. So at this point, I'd be considering breaking the tempo. Oh, I just realized it. Hold on, I missed my cue here, sorry. So we should have held on to the Dora. And then we immediately draw another Dora. So we're 3 for 3 on calling the Dora discards. So in this position, this could have changed our hand to Pinfudora to Riichi, which then is that Mangan that we need to really threaten things.
Pom.
And that would put us above this here too. So yeah, always look for those value upgrades when you can. See, I'm trying to figure out if I would have discarded the Dora here. The problem is Pinfu is not enough, right? Like, we don't want just a Pinfu hand. So in this kind of position, if I still had the 4, I'd be looking at discarding the 9-so. Break the other pair, see what you can do to integrate. And ideally, draw another one.
Pom.
Why Karagiri? What's the importance of this? I did a video on Karagiri where you should only discard this tile, that is the tile that is the same one as the one you drew except from inside your hand, is if you know exactly what information you're trying to convey. If you're trying to look scary, that's not what you want. You want other people to push and really try to elongate the hand a bit more if you can. Or ideally trick the dealer into dealing into a Hanuman from Toyman or something. So this makes you look more dangerous. So I don't like this Karagiri.
Gong.
Okay, now we take the Pinfu and that's it. Yeah, it's rough. Like I said, I would have hedged for more value. I don't think it's worth just getting out here. I'd probably pass this, and I'm still looking at discarding the 9s. But that said, it is a lot harder to find value now that the 4s are discarded. Yeah, rough position. It kind of depends at this point how bad off you are in standings and everything. and how much you need to push that position. Like, this is a play I'd expect to someone who's very high up in the rankings, basically as high as they want to be able to promote or what have you. Just end the game, get out of here, cut our losses, and move on. But if you're lower in the rankings, if you still need like any points at all, like mid to low, I don't like this as much. I'd rather play to win, especially with the player on our right not looking particularly scary. It's not likely they're going to catch up with just this one hand. So, yep, definitely a strange one where we're at right now. In fact, no one's looking particularly scary. This is getting there, but not quite there yet. Okay.
Boom.
So, unfortunately, we just take third place here. That double run was real rough, but that definitely comes down a lot to more positional play and everything. So especially later in the game, it isn't always an insta-Riichi, right? Especially when your goal, like I said, if I'm remembering ARML correctly, when your goal is to stay above 30, that Riichi puts you in so much danger, it's not worth it. So in that sort of position, just Dama, move on. But I think that's about all I got for this one. So thank you all so much for joining in. And I suppose I will see you guys next time.